What happens when the CEO of an 18-store burger chain walks into one of his own restaurants and sees an employee give away food for free? It was a Monday morning when Fletcher Daniels sat in the backseat of a rented sedan, staring out the window at the gray sky over the city. He was tired. Not the kind of tired that came from lack of sleep, but the deeper kind. The kind that crept in when spreadsheets and boardrooms started to replace the things that really mattered. His father had built the burger chain from the ground up. Fletcher inherited it 8 years ago. At first, he'd been on the ground, running shifts, flipping patties, helping open new stores. But over time, he drifted into corporate life. Lately, customer complaints had been piling up, not about the food but the service. Cold attitudes, long waits. A few even said they were treated like they didn't belong. He couldn't ignore it anymore, so he put on a full disguise. Dyed his hair darker, added a scruffy beard, and wore thick glasses. He even changed the way he walked and talked. No one at the store he was visiting had ever met him, not even in passing. It was one of the newer locations, opened just 2 years ago, and it had gone through 2 different managers already. "Drop me off a block away," he told the driver. His plan was simple. Walk in as a regular customer during lunch rush, order a cheeseburger, and see what happened. No clipboard, no cameras, just eyes and ears. The place was busy, workers in button-downs grabbing food, teens on their lunch break, a young mom with a stroller. Fletcher stood in line behind an older man with worn boots and a heavy coat that looked like it had seen too many winters. "Next," the cashier called. The old man shuffled forward. "Cheeseburger, no onions, and just water." "That'll be $5.76, the cashier said, barely looking up. The man dug into his pockets. Coins clinked. He pulled out a couple dollars and some change. "Not enough, sorry," he mumbled. "I thought I had it," the cashier sighed. "You're short by $1.20. Fletcher expected him to be turned away, but then something happened. A girl behind the counter, she looked barely 20, stepped in. "I got it," she said. The cashier looked at her. "You sure?" "Yeah," she said, already pulling out her own wallet. "He comes in sometimes, just let him eat." The man looked at her like she'd just handed him a $100 bill. "Thank you, miss, I'll pay you back next week," she smiled. "Don't worry about it." Fletcher's heart tightened. When it was his turn, he stepped up. "Cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke." The girl, her name tag read Vanessa, rang it up. "That'll be $8.20. He handed over a 10. "Hey, that was kind of you," he said, glancing toward the older man who was now quietly eating at the far table. Vanessa shrugged. "He's just hungry, I've seen worse." "You always do that," she hesitated. "Sometimes when I can," he nodded. "That's rare." "Lot of people wouldn't bother." She gave a half smile. "Well, I'm not a lot of people." Fletcher took his tray and sat near the back, watching. The store was short-staffed, he could tell right away, only 3 people on the floor. Vanessa was doing counter, drive-through, and cleaning tables between orders. Meanwhile, the manager, a tall guy named Brent, according to his badge, just stood by the soda machine, scrolling on his phone. Not once did he lift a finger to help. A kid spilled their drink. Vanessa rushed over with napkins. Brent didn't even glance up. Fletcher narrowed his eyes. He stayed for nearly an hour. Customers came and went. Vanessa never stopped moving. The cashier looked overwhelmed. The cook in the back was shouting about missing stock. Brent just watched videos. By the time Fletcher left, he knew 2 things for certain. 1. Vanessa was the kind of employee his father would have been proud of, the kind every company needed more of. 2. Brent was a problem. Fletcher got into the sedan and pulled off the glasses. "Where to next, sir?" the driver asked. Fletcher didn't answer right away. He was thinking, not just about what he'd seen, but what he was going to do about it. Fletcher returned the next day just after 11, wearing the same disguise. This time, he entered through the side and sat at a booth near the back. No food, just a cup of water in hand. From that spot, he had a full view of the entire floor without drawing attention. The lunch rush hadn't quite started yet, but the staff was already under pressure. Vanessa was wiping down the soda counter, her apron damp around the waist. Her ponytail was tied tighter today, and there was a tension in her jaw that hadn't been there before. The cashier from the day before, a young guy with buzzed hair and a nervous energy, was setting up the register. Brent wasn't in sight. Fletcher kept his head low and listened. "He's late again," the cashier muttered. Vanessa didn't look up. "Third time this week." The kid checked the clock on the wall. "We open drive-through in 15. That's not gonna work." "Just keep breathing, Kyle. I'll take headset." "You handle front. We'll figure it out." Kyle looked around. "What about brakes? You'll get one when he shows up." Kyle didn't like that answer, but he nodded and went back to aligning the receipt paper. By 11:30, orders were already piling in. Vanessa was bouncing between drive-through and prep, while Kyle handled customers solo. The fry machine beeped endlessly in the back. Fletcher caught a glimpse of the cook, a guy in his 40s with a limp and a deep cough, hustling hard on both grills. He wore no name tag, but his focus didn't break once. The line stretched to the door within minutes. A woman in a blazer tapped her foot impatiently. "I've been standing here 10 minutes, she snapped. "There's only 2 of you," Kyle kept his voice even. "We're a little short today." "Thanks for your patience." Vanessa slid a tray onto the counter. "Order 42, double bacon, no tomato." The woman rolled her eyes and muttered something under her breath as she stepped aside. At that moment, Brent walked in from the back. Not through the employee entrance, but from outside, holding a cup of iced coffee and a brown paper bag from a different restaurant. His shirt was untucked, and he was laughing into his phone. He didn't glance at the line or the register. He walked straight behind the counter and disappeared into the office. Not a word to anyone. Vanessa didn't even blink. She just kept moving. Fletcher stood slowly and walked toward the counter, staying near enough to hear. A few minutes later, Brent emerged, still chewing. He leaned on the wall near the fry station and called out, "Hey, Ness, you didn't stock sauces again. Customers are asking." Vanessa finally turned around, her hands covered in mustard. "I stocked them this morning. They're just low because we've had 30 orders in 20 minutes. Brent shrugged and popped a fry into his mouth. "Still your job, make it work." Kyle glanced at him. "Brent, I haven't had a break. Can I?" Brent cut him off. "You'll get one when the rush dies down." "Not my fault you can't handle pressure." Fletcher watched Kyle's face fall. The kid turned back to the register without another word. A man in a maintenance uniform approached the front. "My order's missing the burger," he said. "I got the fries and drink, but no sandwich." Kyle looked at the screen. "Sorry about that. Let me get it fixed." He turned toward Brent. "Can you fire up a cheeseburger?" Brent scoffed. "I'm not a cook, man. Why don't you ask Vanessa? She's Superwoman, right?" Vanessa didn't say anything. She walked over, cleaned her gloves, and started making the sandwich. Brent leaned back against the wall, scrolling through his phone again. The moment the customer walked away with his corrected order, Brent finally looked up. "You need to stop giving stuff away," he said, loud enough for Vanessa to hear. She paused. "What are you talking about?" "That guy yesterday," Brent said. "The homeless one. I checked the till. You covered his meal." Vanessa stared at him. "I did. You're not paid to hand out charity. We're not a soup kitchen. Don't do it again." Fletcher could see Vanessa's hands tighten on the counter. Her voice was steady but lower now. "It was $5, Brent." He was hungry. Brent leaned in closer. "Not your decision. You do that again while I'm running shift and you're off the schedule. Got it?" Vanessa wiped her hands and walked away without answering. Fletcher followed her with his eyes. She went to the back, took a breath behind the prep line, then returned to the headset. The afternoon wore on, and Brent remained glued to his phone or chatting with a group of teenagers who came in and knew him by name. He gave them a free large fry and said, "Don't tell anyone." They laughed and took a table near the window. Vanessa and Kyle kept the place running. They cleaned spills, corrected orders, handled complaints. Not once did Brent assist. When the cook in the back dropped a pan and shouted in pain, Fletcher saw Vanessa run to check on him while Brent stayed planted on his stool, still watching videos. At 3, there was a commotion near the register. A tall man in a polo shirt was arguing with Kyle. "I said no pickles," the man snapped. "You people can't follow basic instructions." Kyle apologized and offered to remake the sandwich. The man leaned in, voice rising. Do you even speak English properly? Fletcher stood up. Vanessa was already moving toward the counter. She stepped between Kyle and the man. Sir, we'll fix the order. Please lower your voice. The man scoffed. Don't tell me how to talk. I'm the customer. Fletcher stepped forward. Excuse me, he said, dropping his usual disguise voice. We don't tolerate that kind of talk here. The man turned. Who the hell are you? Fletcher pulled off his glasses. Brent, who had barely glanced at the commotion, looked up now. Fletcher's voice was calm but firm. I'm Fletcher Daniels. I own this company, and you can take your business elsewhere. We don't serve people who insult our staff. The man froze. Wait, what? You heard me. Leave? The man hesitated, then turned and walked out, muttering to himself. Fletcher turned to Kyle. You okay? Kyle nodded, stunned. Brent stood now, uncertain. I didn't know you were coming. Fletcher didn't look at him. He turned to Vanessa. Can we talk in the back? She followed him into the office. Brent tried to follow too. Not you, Fletcher said, shutting the door behind them. Vanessa stood near the desk, arms crossed. Fletcher leaned against the wall. I saw what happened yesterday, and today you've been carrying this place. She didn't say anything. I want to know the truth. No filters. Vanessa hesitated. We're always understaffed. Brent shows up late, skips prep, pockets free meals for his friends. We've all complained, but nothing changes. Kyle's been trying to quit for weeks. The cook, Lewis, works double shifts because we can't hire anyone else. Nobody wants to stay. Why? Because Brent runs this place like it's his living room. He doesn't manage, he just loiters, and if anyone pushes back, he cuts their hours. Fletcher nodded slowly. Do you want to stay here? He asked. Vanessa looked up. I believe in what this place could be. My mom worked for your dad back in the day, said it was the best job she ever had. That's why I applied. I just didn't expect this. Fletcher's voice was quiet. Neither did I. He opened the door. Brent, he called. Brent stepped in, trying to look composed. Listen, I can explain. You're done, Fletcher said. What? No second chance, no explanation. You've shown me exactly who you are. Brent looked at Vanessa, then back at Fletcher. You're serious? Clean out your locker. You're off the premises in 10 minutes. Brent stormed out. Fletcher turned to Vanessa. I'm staying the rest of the week, quietly, just observing, until I figure out who should run this store. Vanessa looked surprised. You're not putting someone new in right away. No, he said. I want to get it right this time. She nodded. Then I'll keep the line moving. As she left the office, Fletcher sat down at the desk and opened the scheduling logs. His hands moved quickly, but his mind was already focused on the next shift, the next conversation, and the long road ahead. Fletcher stayed quiet for the next 2 days. He arrived early, before the store opened, sitting in the back in plain clothes, observing from a corner booth. No disguise now, just a hoodie, jeans, and a notepad tucked beneath his jacket. Word hadn't spread beyond the team on shift when he revealed himself. Vanessa hadn't told anyone, and Kyle kept his head down as if afraid to even speak Fletcher's name. On Tuesday, the store ran with 4 people. Lewis came in stiff-legged but ready, nodding at Fletcher without a word. Vanessa kept the headset on, calling orders with clipped precision. Kyle worked the register, a little more confident with Brent gone. They were still stretched thin, but there was a rhythm now, not smooth but steady. Wednesday brought rain. Business slowed, which gave Fletcher time to speak with staff one by one between orders. He approached Lewis first, catching him near the ice machine. You've been here long? Fletcher asked. Lewis glanced toward the prep line. 3 years, this store since it opened. Why stay? Lewis wiped his hands on a towel. I need the job, my daughter's in college. This covers her books. Fletcher nodded. You've been doing double coverage, that's not sustainable. Lewis shrugged. You get used to it. I don't want you to get used to it, Fletcher said. You should have help. Lewis didn't respond. He just turned back to the fryer and Fletcher didn't press further. Later, during a lull, Kyle was restocking lids behind the counter. Fletcher stepped beside him. You thinking about staying? Fletcher asked. Kyle looked up, uncertain. I was planning to leave, got a warehouse job lined up. Night shifts, you like it here? Kyle hesitated. I like the people, not the pressure. You ever trained new hires? Kyle blinked. No, would you want to? He looked even more confused now. Why me? Because you've been patient even when things were falling apart. That's not nothing. Kyle didn't answer right away. Fletcher gave him space. That evening, after the store closed, Fletcher asked Vanessa to join him in the office. She stepped in, tying up her apron as she entered. He didn't sit. I've seen enough. Vanessa leaned against the desk. You're closing the store, aren't you? No, Fletcher said. I'm promoting you, she straightened. To what? Acting manager. For now, it's temporary, but if it works, it becomes permanent. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. I can't, she said. I'm not qualified. You've been qualified since the moment you put someone else ahead of yourself without anyone watching. That's the job. She stared at the floor. You'll be running short for a while, he continued. Hiring takes time, but I'm bringing in support. Payroll's been adjusted. You'll be training 2 new crew members by the end of next week. You'll pick them. Vanessa looked up. What about the schedule? I'll cover mornings for now. I'm not leaving until this place runs right. She didn't say thank you, she just nodded. The next morning, Fletcher wore an apron for the first time in years. He manned the prep station with Lewis, turning patties and assembling orders. His movements were rusty, but the muscle memory came back. Vanessa kept the headset, issuing precise instructions. Kyle ran register with a new steadiness. At 11:30, a group of teenagers came in, loud and disruptive. One of them tried to stick a straw into the ketchup dispenser. Kyle moved to stop him, but the kid laughed and shoved him lightly. Vanessa stepped forward. Hey. Not here, the teen turned. Chill, we're just messing around. You touch my staff again and you're banned, the kid scoffed. You can't do that. Fletcher walked out from behind the counter, wiping his hands. She can, and she just did. The kid looked at him, confused. Who are you? Fletcher didn't answer. He just pointed to the door. They left, muttering insults under their breath. Kyle leaned over the counter. That's the 3rd time they've done that this week. Not again, Fletcher said. Next time, call me. They returned to work. Orders kept coming. Fletcher noticed Vanessa checking the time between orders, tracking ticket speed. She adjusted the flow, moving Kyle to drive through during peak and pulling Lewis off grill to help bag when wait time spiked. She didn't over-explain or raise her voice. She just moved pieces until things clicked. Later, Fletcher caught her near the soda station. You've done this before, she shook her head. Just watching what doesn't work. Where'd you learn that? My mom used to say, if something's broken, fix it before you complain about it. Fletcher folded his arms. She worked for my father, didn't she? Yeah, she ran the Westland store for 6 years. That was one of our best-run locations. Vanessa gave a small nod. She still talks about it. At closing, Fletcher stayed behind with Vanessa while Kyle and Lewis cleaned. The register was off by $4. Vanessa counted again, then checked the log. No voids today, she said. Could be a misring, Fletcher offered. Could be, I'll cover it. You don't have to. I'd rather do that than have it hang over Kyle. Fletcher watched her. You think he made the mistake? No, but he'll take it harder than he should. She pulled the money from her wallet and added it to the till. Fletcher didn't stop her, but he made a note to add it back to her check the next day. Friday morning brought a surprise. The district manager, Evelyn, showed up unannounced. She hadn't been told about Fletcher's visit on purpose. He wanted to see how she operated without a heads-up. She entered the store briskly, clipboard in hand, and headed straight for the prep area. Who's on shift lead? She asked sharply. Vanessa stepped forward. I am. Evelyn eyed her. Since when? Wednesday. Evelyn turned to Fletcher, not recognizing him in the apron. And you are, he wiped his hands and faced her. I'm helping out. You don't belong behind the counter. Are you from another store? Lewis chuckled from the grill. Fletcher extended a hand. Fletcher Daniels. Evelyn's face lost all color. I wasn't notified, she stammered. I know. She looked around the store, suddenly unsure of herself. I've been monitoring this location remotely. Reports haven't been great, I know. I would have come sooner if I'd known you were involved, he nodded once. You should have come regardless. Evelyn shifted her weight. I was waiting for the new manager to stabilize things. That manager was the problem, she swallowed. We've had trouble hiring for this district. Labor market's tight. And why did Brent stay in place for over a year? Her mouth opened, then closed. Fletcher turned to Vanessa. How's she been with you? Vanessa didn't answer right away. We haven't seen her since last fall. Fletcher looked back at Evelyn. You're being reassigned, effective immediately. Evelyn's eyes widened. We've got good people here. They need support, not silence. He turned to Vanessa. You'll be reporting directly to me for now. Evelyn nodded stiffly and left without another word. That afternoon, Fletcher stepped outside during a lull. Rain had cleared and the sidewalk glistened. He stood alone, watching traffic pass. Vanessa joined him, sipping from a paper cup. She didn't take that well, she said. She didn't deserve to. Feels weird. What does? Being heard, Fletcher looked at her. Get used to it. Inside, Kyle laughed at something Lewis said. A new rhythm was forming, still rough, still stretched, but different now. With the right people in the right spots, everything felt like it might hold together. Fletcher reached for the door. We've got a long way to go, he said. Vanessa nodded once. But we're walking it. On Monday, the store opened with only 3 employees again, Vanessa, Kyle, and Lewis plus Fletcher still on the morning shift. No one had been hired yet. Interviews were scheduled later in the week, but for now, the team kept the operation moving in controlled bursts. Fletcher had moved his laptop into the back office. He split his time between prepping orders and reviewing hiring metrics from other locations in the region. He'd been quiet about what came next, but his intentions were forming. Every day he stayed, he learned something new, not from reports, but from the way this small crew responded under pressure. Mid-morning, Vanessa stepped into the office, wiping her hands on her apron. She didn't sit. There's a guy from corporate here, she said. Says he's from compliance. Fletcher stood. Did he give a name? Gerald. Wears a tie like it's welded to his neck. Fletcher followed her out. Gerald stood near the soda machines, clipboard in hand, glancing around with thinly veiled disapproval. His shoes were too polished for this floor. Fletcher Daniels, Fletcher said, extending a hand. Gerald blinked. Sir, I didn't realize you were on site. I've been here for over a week. Gerald shifted. I was told there were concerns about equipment maintenance and storage protocols here. There were bigger concerns, Fletcher said. Those have been addressed. I'd still like to do a walkthrough, Fletcher nodded. Do it quietly, this team's running short. Gerald moved through the store making notes. He stopped at the mop sink, frowned, then continued. When he reached the stockroom, he paused. Why is the dry storage inventory being logged by hand? Fletcher stepped beside him. Because the system was auto-deleting entries after Brent left. Vanessa flagged it Thursday. We're waiting on a patch. Gerald scribbled something, then looked up. She flagged it. She's acting manager. Gerald didn't question it further. When the inspection ended, he returned to Fletcher. Minor issues, nothing critical, but I'd suggest a full systems check. This location's been off the regular audit cycle. I'll get it done, Fletcher said. Gerald hesitated, then added, I heard about the incident with the customer last week, the one who insulted the cashier. I handled it. Gerald lowered his voice. Some at corporate think you overstepped. They worry about liability. Fletcher's tone didn't change. We don't protect people who treat our staff like garbage. If that's a problem, I'll take it upstairs myself. Gerald didn't argue. He packed his notes and left without another word. Back inside, Vanessa was helping Lewis lift a new fryer basket. Lewis winced slightly as he straightened his back. You need a second guy for that, Fletcher said, stepping in. Lewis waved him off. I'm fine. You're not 25 anymore, Vanessa raised an eyebrow. You're one to talk. Fletcher smiled at that. Fair. In the afternoon, a young woman arrived for an interview. Allie, 19, no restaurant experience, but she'd worked retail and was looking for something steadier. Vanessa sat in on the interview while Fletcher observed quietly from the prep area. Allie was nervous, but she answered honestly. I just need a place that doesn't treat me like I'm disposable, she said. I don't mind hard work, I just want to feel like I matter. Vanessa didn't sugarcoat the role. You'll be on your feet, sometimes short-staffed. We're rebuilding. If that's too much, it's okay to say no. Allie looked her in the eye. It's not too much. They hired her on the spot. She started training the next day. 2 days later, a second hire came in. Marcus, mid-30s, laid off from a delivery job looking for a reset. He worked 2 shifts with Kyle shadowing him and picked things up fast. Quiet but dependable, by Friday, Fletcher noticed something he hadn't seen in weeks: laughter. Not constant, not disruptive, but natural. Kyle cracked a joke about the drive-through headset. Vanessa rolled her eyes but didn't hide her grin. Even Lewis, always reserved, dropped the occasional one-liner when prepping orders. That afternoon, Fletcher pulled Vanessa into the office one last time. "You've got staff now. Not enough, but more than before." Vanessa nodded. "We're still tight. You'll get 1 more hire next week. After that, you'll be running at 80%, enough to hold." She folded her arms. "And you?" "I'm stepping back, not all the way, but I'm rotating through the rest of the stores quietly." Vanessa didn't respond right away. "Then, you're not worried it'll fall apart when you're gone?" I'm not anymore," she hesitated. "I've never managed payroll or vendor calls." "You'll get trained. I've assigned a regional lead who actually listens. You'll meet her Monday." Vanessa exhaled. "What about the rest of the chain? Are they like us? Some better, some worse. But I'm done relying on filtered reports. I've got my own eyes now." He handed her a small envelope. She opened it and found a letter confirming her permanent promotion. Below her name was a handwritten note. "The restaurant only works when the people inside it do." She looked up. "This from you or your father, both?" That evening, Fletcher stayed late, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He helped close, wiping down counters, bagging trash, checking the cooler. At the end, they all stood near the register, tired but steady. Fletcher turned to Kyle. "You still thinking about that warehouse job?" Kyle shook his head. "I'll stick around for now." "Good, you've got potential. Don't waste it." Lewis adjusted his cap. "So you're really leaving?" "Only for a while." Vanessa leaned on the counter. "You coming back undercover again?" Fletcher smiled. "If I did, would you still comp someone's meal?" She didn't hesitate. "Every time." He nodded once. "Then I've got nothing to worry about." As he stepped out into the night air, the streetlights buzzed softly overhead. The sign above the store flickered once, then held. Fletcher looked back just once, then walked toward the lot. The restaurant wasn't fixed, not yet, but it was on its feet again. And this time, it was standing for the right reasons.